I heard the show was canceled a few weeks after I turned in the final draft of Requiem. And needless to say, I was rather disappointed because that meant that the show wouldn't be filmed and it wouldn't be aired. And that's really too bad because I really wanted to see that show done. But this happens in television. It happens a lot. And all you can do is, just sort of like shrug and say, oh well, take the money and move on. Requiem was written in such a way that if the show was not picked up, as opposed to being canceled, then it served as an ending for the show. But if it was picked up, then we could move the kids on to another level, take the show in a different direction. So it was written to serve either way, and that was the main point for doing it. The title I originally wanted to give the show was Redemption. It was changed to Requiem, I believe, because CBS felt that the other title was giving too much away, but it's hard to remember. It's been a long time. In the script, it pretty much says that Venger is Dungeon Master's son. And I believe that was something that I came up with, that they agreed to on the show. And again, it's been a while, but I think that that was my pitch, and they agreed to it. Requiem was the third part of that trilogy, in which the kids splinter into two factions. One of them wanting to follow Venger because they believe that he will take them home, and the other wanting to stay with Dungeon Master. It's sort of a natural evolution from the first two stories. And they actually split apart. They go to war over it. And at the end, they come together again and realize that they have to work together and believe in each other if they're going to survive. I heard that some fans are going to animate Requiem by themselves a year or so ago, and I was rather astonished and rather pleased. I look forward to seeing what the final product will be.
My name is George DeLuca. I'm working on animating Michael Reaves' final script for the Dungeons & Dragons cartoon.
Venger.
When I was 16 years old, Dungeons & Dragons first aired, and I became addicted to it. And I had an old VCR at the time. That's when they first came out, basically, and I began taping them every week. What attracted me to the show was, of course, the plot. These kids were plucked out of their normal lives. They were kids who normally wouldn't associate with each other. They became friends, and they became friends in part out of necessity, but I honestly believe they began to care for each other, looked out for each other, with an excellent plot line, the classic good versus evil. The way I found out it was canceled was I had my VCR set to record it, and when I went to watch it, because I had other things I was doing on the time, it wasn't there anymore. And I was quite surprised and shocked. I didn't start pursuing it until I first found out about the internet. I got my own internet connection, and one day I just happened to remember the cartoon and decided to do a search for it, which I ran across several websites, which led me to Michael Reaves' script. I actually began searching to see if other people had been working on the script. I found a couple of sites where they were stating that that's what they were going to do, or that's what they were doing, only to find out that they were outdated. So I sat down one day and thought to myself, why don't I do it? I used to do this kind of thing with animation, so it seemed a perfect thing to do. I figured out that I would be the one doing it when I got an email from the last group that stated that they were doing it. and had stated that they were actually no longer doing it, that the website was out of date. And that's when I began to animate the title sequence. And I've just gone on from there. It was actually 6 months into it that I realized how big it was going to be, as far as the characters, hand drawing them, finding existing footage, going through my own VHS tapes to find actual episodes. I created a website because I started to realize the enormity of it, hoping to get some people to volunteer to help me out. And I've been very successful so far with that. It's actually turned into a labor of love, in that it's something I really enjoy doing. I've always liked to do animation. I've always liked to do something with computers and what they can do, especially as they've gotten more powerful, which has enabled everybody to do essentially what they want to do. What I'm using is a PC with Aurora for 2D character drawing, for Eric and all the other main characters. I use Lightwave 3D for the background images for bigger characters like the Hydra, the Bronze Dragon for the Galleon, things like that.
This thing's got more legs than T-Man!
There's no place to hide. It's going to get us, sooner or later.
The way I found voice actors was I initially tried to pursue the original voice actors, which I ran across one, which was Katie Leigh, and she very, very kindly volunteered to do the voice of Sheila. I also posted on my website a request for other people, whoever wanted to volunteer. I ran across a group from England who is doing a live-action version, and they volunteered to do the voice actors of all the other characters.
I think that the script that I wrote works as a fairly decent legacy for the show. I think it wraps everything up pretty well. I think that if they had continued the show, it would have served as a good springboard for a new direction. I wish that they had, done it at the time, but they didn't. And so if somebody actually is able to finish animating a version out there on the web, then maybe that'll serve as a sort of closure for all the people out there who wanted to know how it ended.
If you were to take Michael Reaves' script, download it from the internet, load it into a word processor, and print it, it would come out to be 44 pages big. After a year and a half of working on it, I'm on page 10.
I've seen about a minute of the animation so far, and some of it looks pretty good.
What I had planned to do with it is make it into one large file for anybody and everybody who wants to can download it and enjoy it for themselves.
All I can say is I'm flattered and touched that you enjoyed the show, and I'm really glad that all these years later we're finally able to find some kind of closure for it, and I hope you enjoy the final episode in whatever form.